What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 104 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today, I want to talk to you about The Flash by Mark Waid, Book 1. This collects quite a few issues from the early days of Mark Waid's run on The Flash. Issue 62 through 68, Flash Annual 4 and 5, and The Flash Special Issue 1. And this is all written by Mark Waid, with a couple of other people co-writing a couple of the issues, and most of the art here is by Greg LaRocque, with a couple of other artists drawing some of the stories here and there. And this is pretty good. Mark Waid has often talked about how he was trying very hard in the 90s to combat the dark 90s anti-hero stereotype that was starting to perpetrate itself really in the late 80s. I think that it definitely started spreading around like wildfire in comic books as of The Watchmen and The Dark Knight Returns. Those were really the two big things that kickstarted that whole grim and gritty anti-hero movement in comic books. And Mark Waid was one of the biggest people I can think of who was trying very hard to make sure that that wasn't as much of a thing as what it was. And arguably you could say he didn't really succeed because the grim and gritty anti-hero movement of the 90s was still a thing, but Mark Waid did a really good job of trying to show that there is another way, that you don't have to have a dark, grim and gritty anti-hero in every series that you read. And he was trying very hard to bring the Flash back to that Silver Age purity, I guess you could say. And he's doing that here. He's also doing that in Kingdom Come, which is something you've probably read. If you've never read any of his Flash stuff, you've probably read Kingdom Come. And I would say him trying to fight against that grim and gritty attitude is much more apparent in Kingdom Come than it is here. But if you are aware that this is by Mark Waid, which obviously by the cover, and you're also aware of Mark Waid trying to fight against that in all the stuff that he was writing, you can definitely see it here. It's just not as apparent as it was in stuff like Kingdom Come. But is this book worth checking out beyond the thematic reasoning that Mark Waid had for trying to bring Flash back to his roots? I would say yeah. I really like this. It's got a couple of time travel stories, which I'm a big time travel fan. I always love me a good time travel story. The bulk of this book is actually a Flash Year 1 type story, and it's not a Barry Allen Year 1 story. It's a Wally West Year 1 story, where adult Wally West in the present day, he is having a flashback to whenever he was like 10 or 11, I can't remember which one, and then he first meets Barry Allen and the Flash, and then we get to see him get his superpowers and struggle with becoming Kid Flash, and how he has problems and issues that he's dealing with beyond his problems as the Flash's sidekick. And that's really good stuff. I'm always a fan of whenever somebody can do a superhero series and they have superpowers, but then they've also got things that they have to deal with that can't be solved by their superpowers. And you've got a lot of that here in this Wally West origin story. I really like the way that Waid handles Wally West here. And then we get a few other stories that are not connected to the Wally West Year 1 story. We get an Aquaman team-up, which is pretty fun. And then we get a tie-in with Eclipso, The Darkness Within. And honestly, that's probably the worst story of the lot. I've never read any of the other issues that were part of Eclipso, The Darkness Within, but this particular story was just not very good. I don't really understand anything that's going on here. Golden Glider has basically tricked the Flash and a few of the other rogues into breaking into this museum so that she can get the diamond that has Eclipso in it. And I'm not really sure if she was already possessed or if she was just crazy, but it's really weirdly written. A lot of it just didn't make any sense. We also get, in the other annual, we get a tie-in to Armageddon 2001, which was a crossover that I actually really liked. That was the story where Wave Rider, he comes from like the year 2040 or something like that, and then he goes back to the early 90s to try and figure out which one of Earth's superheroes is going to become the evil dictator monarch. And he goes to each character in each annual to try and look into their future to see if they will become monarch. And then we get to see a possible future for Wally West, and that's really interesting. A lot of it didn't actually happen for Wally West in his actual series, and you could say that about almost all of the Armageddon 2001 crossover titles, but I really like that crossover. I thought that was a lot of fun, and it was neat getting to see a possible future for Wally West. Overall, I would recommend that you guys check out The Flash by Mark Waid, Book 1. I'm sure there's going to be a Book 2. I have no idea how long this run on The Flash went. I don't know if there's going to be a Volume 2 or a Volume 3. I kind of suspect there will, but you never know. Sometimes DC will cancel orders on a series after they've already started it. For example, Infinity Inc., they did a Volume 1 and then they never did a Volume 2. Who knows? Maybe they won't do a Volume 2, but I hope they do because I really like this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else Mark Waid is going to be doing on this series. So that's all that I have to say about this book. I hope that you guys liked this video. If you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with a different video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of your day. Catch you later.